What is the crack, YouTubers? Myself and Stevo
Hey,
are
hey
back here.
guys. Oh, look at that. We're few seconds in and we've already ballsed it
I know
up.
we've already talked over each other. It's like previously we had technical difficulties with the audio. Now it's like we're just unprofessional.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think anyone that watches my channel knows about my unprofessionalism. Yeah, apologies on the last episode, guys. All technical difficulties there was completely my end, but we have solved that now. So sound issues should be crisp and clear going forward.
Should be in the keyword here. Should be crisp and clear. Hopefully there's no more problems.
Yeah, I don't think there will be. We've obviously had some issues today with images and things, so hence why you guys won't be seeing any images flash up on the screen. But hey, it is what it is. We're still learning as we go.
Yeah, try. The learning curve seems to be steep. I'm having those sort of technological problems where it's like if you've ever worked in your job and you called up the IT guy and it's like, oh, it's not working, and then when he shows up, it's like working again. It's like, well, it wasn't working a minute ago, but it's working now. That one of those sort of moments.
Yeah, we need some sort of technical support on the channel, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I just
But we're
need to.
getting there. We're getting there. We got a good thing going here, guys. Basically, I appeared on Skarnir's channel. What was it, about a week ago now?
I think it was
Just
about a
over a
week
week
ago at this
ago, I
stage.
think.
Yeah, about that.
And yeah, we basically decided we want to carry this thing on. We want to carry on the Two Bald Knobs show. So yeah, both these bald knobs are very excited about carrying this show on. We're going to be trying to bring you episodes of this as often as we can, basically, and just chat a load of bollocks about orcs generally. We're probably aiming for at least one a month, maybe one every couple of weeks, as often as we can, really, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, that's it. Like I suppose when they're, when the planets align for both of us and we're able to get together and make a video or something very substantial comes up and is urgent. Like currently, in the run up to the Codex and with Speed Freaks and the revealing of new vehicles and stuff, there's quite a lot we want to try and talk about while it's still relative.
Oh, hell yeah. Orktober. Yep, definitely. We're going to have so much to talk about. So I think you guys could expect a lot more of these shows over the coming weeks. And I better say, actually, as well, obviously, we're going to be alternating, aren't we? So one show will be appearing on your channel and one show will be appearing on my channel, alternating. So if you do not want to miss an episode of Two Bald Knobs, it is very important that you subscribe to both of us if you haven't already.
Yeah, definitely. You'll have to if you want to get all of the episodes in, like Stevo said, we will be alternating. So this episode will be up on Stevo's channel, and then obviously the next episode after that will be up on mine. Maybe months down the line, or after we've gotten a few under our belt, we'll throw up like a compilation of some sort or whatever. But the more recent videos, I reckon, will probably be alternating.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll both have the Two Bald Knobs playlist on our channels, so you'll be able to watch all the episodes in sequence if you want to.
Definitely, but for the latest one, you'll have to be subscribed to both of us. Bit of cross promoting there.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, a bit of shameless self promotion there. It's got to be done, isn't it?
That's it, man. You won't get anywhere without it. So what are we talking about today? We're gonna talk about Kill Team. You played your first game of Kill Team there recently, didn't you?
I did, yes. Yeah, and it was quite an experience. It was. There's a lot more to the game than I first thought, really. I knew it was a different game from 40k, but I didn't realise quite how different. The rules do differ quite heavily, actually.
Yeah, there's a few little bits and pieces. I played a game about a week ago. Last week actually. I played my first game of Kill Team last week as well, and we found that well, obviously we got a few of the rules wrong, such as like flesh wounds and stuff like that, and as is gonna happen in your first game when you're playing with your mates. But yeah, I found it's a lot more a lot more intense and tactical. Like it really matters whether you move a guy into position and your timing on whether you should pounce and stuff. You know, I found it a lot more sort of cerebral. Not that I'm saying 40k doesn't have tactics and stuff like this, but I just found personally when I was playing that using tactics at the right time was very key. And you know, even small things like who was covering firing lines down to support guys that were pushing up to try and grab an objective. You know yourself. It's yeah,
Yeah.
I found positioning was very
Oh
key.
yeah, yeah, for sure, man, for sure. It's I mean, in terms of the tactics and stuff, we didn't actually use those because we were just seeing how different it was. We were like, geez, you know, we have to learn this from the ground up. So we left out specialists and the use of tactics, which obviously is a huge part of the game. So that first game was very much just to get used to the basics of how the phases work, because obviously you've got there's no charge phase. There's a big difference, and that changes the way, like you say, with the movement completely. Because obviously if you want to, you charge in the movement phase, therefore nullifying your shooting completely. So then you're left with some decisions to make. You know, do you want to charge or do you want to have the chance to shoot? And yeah, it's very different. I'm looking forward to my next game where we do bring in, you know, the use of specialists and tactics, because I think that's going to add so much depth and enjoyment to that game.
It does. I'd agree with you there. It does add another depth to it. But I don't know about you, but I kept um falling into like old habits, like mentality wise, where I'd be like, I think I was playing 40k, so because there's the alternate
Yeah,
activations, you know what I mean? I was thinking to myself, right, I'll move these guys up here, and then I'll be in range when it comes to my shooting, forgetting that my opponent would then move in his turn. You know what I mean? I,
yeah, totally.
it's very
Yeah,
interesting.
completely. I
That,
think it's a very different game, but a very cool game. Initial impressions are very good, but it's yeah, it was interesting. I made a list, obviously my kill team up before the game started, um, and yeah, I think after that game and seeing how badly my Orcs fared, I'm going to have to rethink that list actually.
So what we see, Air Force game, we just use the stuff straight out of the box because I built the core box, with those cards that come with it. So each of the models out of the core box I built exactly as they're equipped on their data cards, just so it would be quicker for me to play a game with people or introduce people to the game. So I
Yeah.
haven't actually played orcs yet. So how did you find playing orcs? What were the pitfalls you were finding?
Well, the big pitfalls in playing Reroll Joe is that he loves his 2+ saves. So, of course, he chose Thousand Suns. So they have the special rule that if they're shot with any weapons that are only damage 1, then their save is buffed to a 2+. So that was hard straight out the bat, going up against 2+ saves in Kill Team. But it's yeah, I didn't realize just how important morale is in the game, and it really can make or break your kill team. Like literally, I think a lot of games will be decided during the morale phase, taking your nerve tests and whatnot. And I opted for more is more bodies on the table. So I tried to maximize. So I squeezed in quite a lot of grots, a lot of basic boys. I kept the points costs down and tried to overwhelm him with numbers. Um, but yeah, like I said, when it comes to the morale phase, and once you've suffered a lot of deaths, and each one of those deaths adds a modifier onto your break tests or your nerve tests, that stacks up very quickly. And when you've got cowardly grots that are going to run at the drop of a hat, it spells doom for your kill team. So I think if you're going to play a kill team like that, you're going to want to get in some damage and stuff early on. I think the early game is where you're going to you're going to do well. Later on in the game, as you suffer casualties, those modifiers to your leadership are going to start piling up to ridiculous levels. And it was tough. It was tough to the point where literally, luckily, a 1 though will always pass. So regardless of modifiers, and that was what I was requiring for most of my nerve tests in that game.
Yeah, I found even though I was playing the Gene Stealer cultist against the Mechanicus, I was finding near the mid to later stages of the game, because I was taking a lot of casualties, that it was starting to get really, it accumulates up the negative multipliers as your team just sort of falls apart. You really start to feel the pain and notice it. So if you were having issues with lower leadership grots, I could see why, like, because they drop like flies, and then your negative modifiers are just going to be out the window. Like, where it'll get to this stage where if I don't roll a 1, it's like, psh, good luck, you know. But that's what I like about Kill Team, though. It's the, you'll still have a chance, even with the shooting and stuff. Hitting on a 6+ is nice. So you're not out modified to the point where you can't, where your model won't be viable, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And obviously, I'm a big fan of the 6+. But it's that's a fantastic rule. The nearly all aspects of the game, from what I can tell, down to sort of shooting, morale tests and stuff. 1s and 6s always count regardless of modifiers, and it's such a simple rule. And it keeps it keeps everything viable, which is really cool. And I do hope they bring a similar mechanic over to 40k, because I think it solves so many issues that a lot of people complain about.
I've heard that quite a few times myself, and I've actually thought about it. I think that would actually help in regards to orc shooting and modifiers quite a lot, because you can come up against -2 modifiers. It's just sort of negates your shooting. I would be surprised if the next chapter approved didn't have something along the lines of the core rules having an update where a 6+ always hits. Discussing it with a friend, and we were talking about how the changes through editions, where it used to always be that you could hit, but you wouldn't have been able to wound if something was too tough, whereas now it seems to be that everything can wound everything else, but it doesn't guarantee that you're going to be able to shoot it, if you get me, with modifiers.
Yeah, you make a good point. Actually, they swapped one for the other, didn't they?
Yeah, it's a bit odd when you think about it.
I mean, it's far more important in Kill Team, because there's so many modifiers in this. I mean, just there's things that you'd never experience in 40k. Like you're within your weapon's range, but you're still facing a -1 modifier because you're not within half range. It's what's called long range. So you have to really take a good look at all your weapons. And things like pistols. Obviously, you need to be within 6-inch range to be firing at your full ballistic skill. So there's a lot more things to take into account. And the modifiers can stack up quite drastically, especially once you're flesh wounded. That's adding a modifier to you. And once you're sort of facing sort of -3 up to -4 modifiers, it's a bloody good job you've got the 6s always hit rule.
Yeah, otherwise it would face with like where you're being modified out of the game at that point. I noticed that as well, now that you've said it, that there'll be long range modifiers. It's like, just because you're in range of your weapon doesn't mean that you're going to be hitting on your base ballistic skill, firing over half of it. You're going to have your long range modifiers. Then if the enemy's behind cover, you're going to have modifiers for that if they're obscured. And then if they're using tactics themselves, you're going to have modifiers for that. Like I said, I haven't played orcs yet, but the orc list that I've come up with is mostly commandos. I think it's like 6 or 7 commandos, a commando knob, one looter with a def gun for support, at least 1 or 2 I think, and then a grot just to be there as a meat shield. I really like that. That's really fluffy. That you can use grots as as meat shields to take the bullets through. What do you think of that one?
I love it. I love it. It's just brilliant. It's brilliant. It's just it puts a smile on my face. The thought of my boss knob grabbing a grot round the neck and just holding him up as a shield as this thing screams and wriggles and tries to get away and gets peppered with bolter rounds. It's just it's brilliant. There's nothing not to like about that.
Very fluffy. I've noticed that about several of the rules and like the tactics you can use and stuff. That quite a lot of it is very very fitting for the Orc faction. You know, and
yeah, I think the big mistake I made with my list and with sort of starting the game is coming to it, like you said earlier, with a sort of 40k mentality. When I play 40k, my grots are very much expendable. They're there to be killed. They're there to distract stuff, gain rear field objectives and stuff. And if they get shot off the table, great. That means my opponent's not shooting at my more valuable stuff. In Kill Team, though, I don't really think there's such thing as an expendable unit because of those, morale modifiers. I think in my Kill Team I had 5 grots, which I went into that game thinking, great, I've got 5 units there that are totally expendable. But 5 of them get killed, that's -5 to my morale tests. That's crippled my morale for the rest of the game there. So I don't know. Grots, I'm strongly considering not using them in my next game, or at least lessening the amount of them. I think it's just going to be a learning experience, learning the game and coming up with new tactics and new ways to play. I mean, I guess they will still serve a purpose as meat shields and stuff, using that tactic and perhaps gaining rear field objectives and stuff, but I think you're going to be almost playing your grots a lot more careful and a lot more cowardly, actually, which fits, I suppose, and keeping them well behind line of sight, blocking terrain and stuff, grabbing objectives and things, and keeping themselves out of trouble.
Yeah, definitely cowardly grots. Like I said, it's probably more fitting. My mentality of them is I'd be using them for my looters as a blade of shielding for the looters. I don't know. I'd be interested in the laugh for making just a purely grot mob, but then it's a case that you're gonna the guys just die too easy if you're caught out in the open. I found that even with Gene Stealer cultists, if you're caught out in the open, you're getting cut in half, man, and it's vicious.
Oh yeah,
it can be very vicious.
And I think it would completely depend on what type of armies you come up against as well. I think obviously, I mean, me and Joe, we play incredibly different armies. I've always been about maxing out numbers and cheap unit. I like to have a lot of numbers in my forces, whereas he goes the exact opposite. He wants the most elite of the elite. And I mean, I didn't kill a single model in our game. I got a couple of flesh wounds in here and there. But that was literally it. They were devastating, and he had, I think his sorcerer, kill team leader, and his one of his 1,000-son gunners both had flamers. So it was brutal. My shooting was pretty crap, and when it came to charging them, I was facing Flamer Overwatch. So it was sort of a lose-lose whatever I did. And then anything I did get through, he had two plus saves to fall back on and was making the vast majority of most of them. So I mean, I'll be facing my brother soon. He's got the Mechanicus force from my starter set. So I'm looking forward to playing them because I've never played against Mechanicus before in regular games of 40k or anything. So that'll be very interesting. It'll be nice to play against something that doesn't come in power armor or Terminator armor, that's for sure.
Yeah, something that isn't clad in ridiculous saves. I don't know with that one. If you're saying that they get 2+ saves against anything that does 1 damage, then maybe a few looters with def guns. Did they not do 2 damage each? That would probably.
Yeah, I think they do. They definitely would be useful. I had one guy with a rocket launcher, but I think he missed every single shot. And I had a burner boy, but he got killed. He was the first casualty of the game. And my boss knob had a combi scorcher with a big chopper. So the big chopper doing 2 damage and -1 AP. is obviously very nice. But he had some horrendous dice rolls. So yeah, it was a pretty horrendous game from my perspective. But like I said, the main reason for it, I wasn't really playing with any real strategy or tactics. It was literally we were just learning the game. Most of the game was spent with our nose in the rule book, checking the rules over and things. And like you said, once we finished the game, we read back over them and realised that we had made a few errors here and there and stuff. And it's I mean, you've got like the thing where like multiple damage weapons and that once you've wounded something, you then make a roll to see on the flesh wound, and then your like excess damage it sort of goes to waste. We're a little bit unclear on that rule, but I mean, a lot of his weapons did multiple damage, and he found that quite a bit of pill to swallow. He was like, well, I'll just get one roll to see if you're flesh wounded. And at first he was rolling a lot of flesh wounds and getting quite disheartened with that. But as the game went on and he saw how much negative modifiers and how much
how it all built up,
how that all built up against me, he saw that actually flesh wounds are very valuable. At first you're gutted, obviously you haven't killed something, you've merely wounded it, but those wounds, they have a lot of effects which really hurt you later on in the morale phase and as the game progresses. And then obviously, much like the old-fashioned hull points on vehicles and that, once you get so many flesh wounds, you're dead anyway.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. I was of a similar mentality initially, where I was like, oh, I'll take flesh wounds and I'm grand, you know what I mean? But then you start to see, like, because I think me and my friend, we had missed the part where you'll see how it affects your shooting and your, how it it degrades your miniature, and then that flesh wounded miniatures then add into the overall morale as well when you're testing, because it's miniatures that are gone and down, and then guys who have flesh wounds as well. Like it all stacks up. It all builds into it. One wasn't too bad. I think I managed to kill 2 or 3 of his Mechanicus, and then I got wiped out. I thought it pretty funny. We didn't realize until after the end of the game, not that it really mattered in the overall result, but if you're playing the standard starter box set, the Mechanicus team has about 20 points, I think. It's like 15 or 20 points more than the Gene Stealer cultists. And then if there's any disparity in points, we found out afterwards that for every 10 points, I think there's a disparity that you get. The other player gets an extra command point or whatever they're called in Kill Team.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. So, it's little things that can add up. But yeah, overall,
it's gonna be a fun game to play around with, I think. And like any war games and stuff, you can bring in house rules and stuff, and you can tweak it to fit your needs. And I think you could up the points a bit. I mean, it says from the campaigns that as you start leveling characters up and that, you can increase later games to like 150 points and stuff, because your specialists start becoming more expensive as they level up and things. And I've got good feelings about it overall, and I love the starter set. The starter set's such good value. I think it's the only game where you properly get everything you need in the box. I mean, they sell like 40k starter sets and stuff where they say you've got everything you need to get playing. They do to a degree, but I mean, this comes with the scenery, it comes with the board, and it actually comes with enough dice to play the game. Whereas when you play 40k and you get a bag of about 5 dice, and you're like, well, that's just not going to cut it.
Well, that's fair. That's because we're orc players, and normally it's like, I don't know of any other players who specifically go out of their way to see how many dice they can hold in one hand, and I think mine's like 110. I have big hands, like they're like shovels. So I was born to be an orc player. But yeah, I've found that as well with the Kill Team box set. It actually contains everything you need for the game. Like you were saying, I was well impressed that it has the board. It has the terrain to play on, and there's enough terrain in there for the size of the board that it doesn't feel barren. Like your miniatures can hide behind pillars and move up and stay out of line of sight and stuff. So it's very tactical in that regard. You have all the dice. You have your little plastic measuring thing. Instead of the old whippy sticks for measuring.
No more whippy sticks.
No more whippy sticks. Me and my brother, I swear to God, just kill each other with them.
Yeah, I imagine there's a lot of injuries over the years have been caused by them bloody whippy sticks.
I'm sure there's a few scars out there and nostalgic memories attached to them from the from
Yeah,
starter set with these sticks. But yeah, like I said,
yeah,
with the
yeah, a lot of I can talk a lot about wargaming related injuries, that's for sure.
oh yes. Especially especially talking about the kill team terrain. I'm sure you could relate to that.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, the terrain's amazing. I mean, it's not. You don't feel like when you set it all up, you don't feel like you're playing a starter set. You feel like you're playing like a proper, really well-rounded. You've got a well-equipped game there. You've got a good amount of scenery. The board looks great. It's double-sided. You've got all the tokens, all the cards you need, all the rules. No matter what faction you play is in the rule book. I think the only thing you obviously don't get is a lot of the faction-specific tactic cards, which you do have to buy that faction's box set for, which is a bit of a bummer because I had no real need to buy the Krog Skulls Boys one, but evidently it seems I do need to buy it if I want to get all the Orcs Tactics cards. Either that or I need to hunt through eBay and see if anyone's selling off just the cards.
I was of the same opinion myself. I didn't need to buy Krog Skulls Boys, but I bought the box set because I knew there would be orc specific cards in the set, and I suppose it's an incentive. Like if you're looking at the likes of me and you, it's like we already have Borna Boys. There's a bit of terrain in there, and I suppose there has to be some incentive for established players to actually buy these box sets. So you're getting the data cards.
It's a smart move on their part, definitely, to do the sort of exclusive bits in there that you do need. And I think the Burners Looters set is a kit that no matter how many orcs you've got, that's a kit that keeps on giving, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can do crazy things with that set. You really can.
I mean, I remember we spoke before, and you said to me, "Do you have any looters?" I said, "I don't currently have any looters. I've got the set, but I used it to build tank busters." And you were like, "What? You bought the set and you didn't make any looters or burners?" Or, no, I just sort of chopped them up and used various bits and combinations to make my tank buster squad. So yeah, I could actually do with getting that set actually because after playing this, I think looters and burners are two incredibly valuable units for Kill Team. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, I myself, I swear by looters. I have done for a long old time. With the looters, like it's just 2 units of 15 was like my go to for a long time in like 5th edition through 6th, 7th. I always like bringing them along because I like to have that fire support. I've found that any games that I've played in 40k where if you're bringing your horde army, you need some form of long range fire support, and I found the looters always fit that build for me nicely. Because otherwise what happens is if your enemy doesn't have anything shooting at them and getting them to duck their heads down, then obviously they're out of their trenches and they're just gunning your guys as they're coming up. So I like when I heard that you didn't build looters out of the looter set, it was oh my god. You know what I mean?
How does he survive?
How do you survive? But,
yeah, it's for me the 40k. It's my my tank busters are sort of probably my big shooty unit. It's the heavy support and the tanks and things that I'm coming up against, which are sort of pose a big threat to my horde as it's advancing. So anything that can put the threat on them, I sort of come at them with my tank busters. I've got my death copters with the twin linked rockets. A lot of my cans have got rockets as well. So I've got a lot of love for the rockets. I do like the reliable 3 damage and AP -2. It's quite nice.
Well, the rockets are nice, definitely. I tactics wise, if it's still viable in the new codex, I have two mobs of tank busters and some customized Chinook warcopters earmarked. That's something I want to do because it's just hilarious. Tank busters have always been fun. The problem has been just getting them close enough where they're viable and wrecking stuff. It's always about transporting vehicles. And speaking of
Yeah,
transport,
you need a transport for tank busters, definitely.
speaking of transporting vehicles, yeah, the new vehicles that keep getting shown to us are crazy. They look awesome. Hopefully they're super modular. I'll let you remind me of the names of them if you have them handy.
Yeah, I do. I do have them handy. We have got the ones that we covered on our last show, the custom booster blaster. I think that's the sort of rat rod inspired looking one. The first one they unveiled, and then we've got the shock jump dragster, which is the sort of Formula One looking motor with the slick wheels and what was it, the custom force field or the custom jump
Yeah. In the
generator
back of it,
thing on the
yeah.
back, and
That looks
then the
cool.
latest one they've just released, the Boom Dakar Snaz Wagon, which
That
is
is.
just the best name
It's a
ever.
mouthful, isn't it? I love it. It's like, trademark anyone? It's like,
Yeah, it's just astounding. I love it. I think that one, the one that's just been unveiled, I think is probably my favourite of the three. But all three of them are amazing in their own right.
I agree with you. All three of them look good, but the Boom Dakar Snaz Wagon, if that's what it's called, I would just call it the Boom Wagon for. Yes, someone was clearly watching Mad Max Fury Road while they were designing that, which is exactly the way you should be doing it for orcs and 40k. That is the mentality you need to be in when you're designing um orc vehicles. Just to sit down and watch Mad Max and just enjoy it.
Oh, totally. I've seen some people making sort of negative comments saying, "Oh, it's just ripped off Mad Max and that." And I think a lot of these people, maybe they haven't been in the hobby that long and that, but 40k, like everything's ripped off of everything. I mean, the Tyranids are massively inspired from the Aliens movies. You've got the Necrons that you can't fail to see the Terminator influence there, and just everything. When Warhammer first started in fantasy, it was a huge rip-off of Tolkien and Lord of the Rings. It's
Heavily
it's
inspired,
what the
yeah.
game has done the whole time, and nothing's going to change that front. They see what's popular. They see they get inspiration like we all do from our modeling stuff from movies and books and the stuff of the time. And Mad Max is the perfect source material for orcs, definitely.
Oh yeah, wholeheartedly, and I agree with you in regards to originality and inspiration. There's always like cross pollination of ideas and concepts. You can see, like, especially in the Rogue Trader days back in the old rule books, that they were heavily influenced by the likes of Judge Dredd and the ABC
Yeah,
Warriors and all that type of stuff. You know what I mean? Because I didn't realize
yeah.
that was a bit
Even
before
down
my
to
time.
art style and stuff. Like when you look through that Rogue Trader rule book, I mean, it almost feels like you're reading like a 2000 AD annual or something. The artwork in there is massively inspired from that kind of era of comics and stuff.
Yeah, I found it interesting. I was sitting in a bookstore and I picked up, like, I think it was like a compilation of the ABC Warrior uh comics, and I started reading through it and I was going, there's reference to like chaos as in Kaos. There's reference
Yeah.
into like chaos and stuff and all this type of, and I was like, oh, no, that sounds oddly familiar. You know what I mean? It's just, I find it interesting to find the, where ideas have or concepts have been taken into the 40k universe, and it happens all the time, still to this day. Like,
Oh yeah, definitely. So yeah, they can rip off as many ideas as they want as long as they're cool ideas. Keep doing it.
as long as, yeah, they can keep being inspired as long as they're good. But yeah, Mad Max has always been like, or since they went down the road of ramshackled orcs, Mad Max has been like, that's what Gorka Morka was pretty much. It was a
Yeah.
Necromunda rules with vehicles for orcs just to be out in the desert like Mad Max. Heavily influenced.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's always a good sort of influence, I think. I love Gorka Morka, but I don't know. It brings us on to like the new box set that's coming out, Speed Freak. Some people seem to think it's going to be Gorka Morka, and I'm not convinced. Some people seem to think it'll be like a re-release of Gorka Morka. I think it's looking more like just a racing game in and of its own, right? You know what I mean? Because it's what the box set from the leaks we've seen contains 6 bikes and 2 war buggies, from what I can see. One of each, the yellow and the red one, and then some terrain. So I think it's going to be some sort of either racing game or like maybe a scramble where people are trying to pick up bits and pieces and stuff. But I don't think saying that that is Gorka Morka, I think would be a bit unjust to Gorka Morka itself, because it was a fully fledged game with campaign system, and it was pretty much Necromunda with vehicles for orcs. That's how like that's how in depth the game was, or indeed is. So well, I can understand it's inspired. I don't think it is Gorka Morka, as some people seem to maybe they want Gorka Morka released. I'm not too sure, but I don't think Speed Freaks.
I think you touched on it there. I think it's not so much that they think this is the new Gorka Morka, but it's more of a wish list. It's more of a there's a lot of people out there, diehard fans of Gorka Morka that would love to see it return. But I mean, there is definitely inspirations there. There's definitely, I think, fans of Gorka Morka are going to get a lot from this game. But it like you said, it is going to be a very different experience. But having said that, I think the success of this game in itself, I think, may push GW towards, doing a re-release of Gorka Morka, or at least something very similar. We've got the month of October coming up. Orcs are going to be making a big comeback, and if the demand's there, who knows? I mean, GW are pulling out a lot of surprises lately, so I wouldn't rule it out for the future. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh no, it's not a case that I'm saying that Gorka Morka is never going to happen. I just
this isn't it.
This isn't it. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get. I'm not trying to piss on anyone's parade or anything. I'm just, you know what I mean. To me, from what we've seen so far, and the leaks that we've been shown, yeah, this doesn't look like a Gorka Morka release to me. And it would be awesome. Yeah, I think if it was well received, as you're saying, and we're seeing that the orcs are well received, and from what I'm seeing from the miniatures, they look absolutely amazing. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm looking forward to see what the Codex has, and if Speed Freaks was so successful that they decide to go and do a reboot of Gorka Morka, then yeah, that would be interesting as well. Like, even if it was just new miniatures or whatever, you know what I mean? Like you were saying, there's nothing.
The fact that they've got these miniatures coming out now, I mean, I think you'll probably see a lot of homebrew rules and stuff, and they pretty much only would really need to release a rule set, because you've got these buggies and stuff and these new vehicles that are just going to be, you get rules to make these usable in Gorka Morka, and you've got a lot of the groundwork's already laid there for that one.
Well, that's it. Like, there's nothing stopping old school geezers who don't really play in the Games Workshop store. I'm sure there's still guys out there playing second ed 40k with their own homebrew sort of vehicle templates and stuff. You know what I mean? There's nothing. I think that's an aspect of the hobby that people don't really touch on much. Home ruling stuff. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing to stop you from saying, I don't like the latest FAQ. Why don't we interpret this rule the way we've always interpreted it, and you and your mates can agree, and away you go. Like, I think
that's it. This hobby is very much ours. I mean, there's no sort of right. You can follow the rules exactly as they are, or like you say, if you and your opponent agree and you like playing it a different way, then go for it. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Everyone make of this hobby what they want, and play it the way they want. Definitely.
Now, obviously, it just depends on the situation. Like, if it's mates playing the hobby, then yeah, you can house rule stuff. Then I can understand the mentality of having to play by the book, and where everything is down to the down where you're down to the T. If you're going into tournament play, because it has to be structured that way. But for everyday gaming with your mates, you know what I mean? try not to split what little hairs we have left over them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Those days are gone.
Yeah. Oh, mate, you haven't seen. Well, I'll tell you this little segue story. So I went to the barbers there. I go to a barber's. I won't say any names or anything. And my usual barber wasn't there. So there's this Eastern European chap, and he's like, oh, "Okay, yeah." So I get sit in the chair, and I say to him, "I'm like, all right, so I just want to trim. So I'm like, I take a bit of the length out of the beard, and I want like a raw blade on the head, just shaved, zero." He's like, 0, 1, 0, little stubble. I'm like, no, 0. He's like, all over. I'm like, yeah, all over me head, mate. So he gets the blade and straight away attacks the locks. It's like, oh my God. So my beard is a lot smaller than it used to be, but give me a few months and I'll get back. Just you couldn't make it up, mate. You know what I mean? You really couldn't.
Yeah, well, we're at the time now. We get more hair growing on our face and elsewhere than we do on our head now.
Compensating, apparently. Yeah. Apparently we're compensating.
Such is life. But if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have such a cool title for this show.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that the tongue-in-cheek humor is spot on and perfect.
Yeah, definitely. We don't take ourselves too seriously here.
No, try not to. It's not that type of
we
hobby,
do need to get on to a serious subject, which we touched on the last show.
No, there could be blood. Well, we won't say there could be blood spilled because you spilled enough already attacking terrain.
Yeah, but for those that don't know, if those who didn't watch the last show, we Skarnir here is a big Blood Axe fan and player, and that's okay. Any Orc clan is good by me. Orcs is Orcs; they're all good, but there can only be one prime Orc clan, and it's got to be the Bad Moons, surely.
Oh. I can't even keep a straight face. It's like, sure, okay, yeah. No, Blood Axes are best, man. You should know by now. You know what I mean? Gaskull wouldn't have been able to pull off some of his tactics without the Blood Axe commanders. We're the only ones who listen.
Now come on, man. If you want it, I'm sure if we asked Gaskull, well, Gaskull would obviously say Goths, but
yeah, of course he's biased. Yeah,
but if he was to give you his second favorite clan, or most valuable clan, it's got to be Bad Moons. I mean, we're the ones that gave him the teleportation technology.
You could just nick it off of the Bad Moons. You know what I mean? Nicking stuff off of Bad Moons is second nature to most orcs. Just put the Bad Moons in their place, nick their stuff, and then call in the Blood Axes for the proper tactics. When you want the job done properly, proper sneaky. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sneaky, using Umi tactics. I mean, they're the first clan encountered by the humans, weren't they? The Imperium is the first clan encountered by them, and they hire out their services with dirty Umis, and I don't know. That doesn't sit well, I don't think, with Gork and Mork.
It's all a means to an end, mate. It's all what's that? You'd like to give me this shiny plasma cannon? Well, I don't mind if I do.
Well, that's it. See, I don't think there's a clan out there. Maybe Snakebites, probably, because they're a bit feral and backwards. But any other clan, they will find use for Bad Moons. I mean, we're the best. We got more teeth. We got more armor. We got more cans. We got more snazzy gear, and basically it just means we got more wah.
Yeah, you're just a walking bank account for the rest of us. That's all it is. You've more teeth in your gob to be knocked out. That's where it's at. Bit short in the old change.
Envious eyes when a Bad Moon Warboss is strutting his stuff with his bling and his piercings and his big bag of teeth and his snazzy custom mega blaster and
showing off. Yeah.
Clans, they're looking at them with envious eyes.
Painting everything yellow. Oh my God.
Yeah, what's the point in having good shit if you can't show it off? You don't want to be camouflaged and hiding. You want everyone to see what you've got.
We'll just make a good distraction. I'll give you that much.
What a big bad boss knob you really are.
If we were if me and you were on the same battlefield and we were fighting against enemies, I'd be quite happy They'd be all too busy looking at you and your bling mobiles and your disco balls and your 40 dice and shelling you, and then next thing they know, all the commandos pop up out of their sewer grates and stab them in the back. You know,
You wouldn't
win-win.
need to be sneaky though, because they wouldn't hear you anyway. With the sheer deafening volume of all our DACA, they wouldn't hear you anyway. So your sneakiness would be redundant and unrequired.
Can you hear them coming? No, I can't hear anything. What? Just constant like.
DACA. Yeah, we don't care if we hit anything. We just like it. It makes a big loud flash and a big loud bang.
That's see, tactics. It helps to aim as well. You know what I mean? You can go very far with that. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't think.
Well, this is definitely going to be one we don't agree on. But I think we're going to have to put this to the audience to vote and to let us know which clan is the best.
Obviously, it's Blood Axes, but you know, we'll see how many sneaky Blood Axes are out there. So I definitely think, you know, between me and you, we're too dug in our own trenches at this stage. So if people want to comment on which orc axe you think is orc axe, well, obviously the one in someone's back is the best orc axe. Which orc clan is the best? Show it in the comments down below, and we'll see whose is the best. You know what I mean? So I don't know. We might have a sneaky wager. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think a wager's good. I think how about if it turns out, as it will, that Bad Moons are the best clan, then how about you paint up an orc boy in a nice yellow Bad Moon color with lots of bling?
Oh my god! Oh, be a waste of an orc boy. But okay, but you have to do the same if the Blood Axes win. Mind you, I expect, you know, severe bribery on behalf of the Bad Moons to be going on here. I know what you gits are like.
Yeah, we'll pay plenty of teeth to get the right votes.
To get the right votes. All right, so that's for the next episode. Okay, so whoever's clan is the best, the loser has to paint a miniature in the other clan color. So if I lose, I paint Bad Moons.
I like it.
If you lose, you paint Blood Axes.
Yeah, I hope you've got that yellow paint ready, mate.
Ah, no, you're gonna need more than that for all the camouflage. You know, I've got a nice color scheme down to a T. You know what I mean? You won't even see them coming. It's that good.
Oh, you definitely won't see them because it ain't gonna happen.
Oh, I love it. So yeah, I don't think there's that much else we wanted to really talk about. This the Warhammer Conquest magazine series that was coming out. It was actually released today. What do you think of that yourself?
I mean, I like I say, I've not looked into it in that much detail until today. I've seen loads of posts and things popping up, people snapping up like 5, 6 copies, you know, per person at their local newsagent or whatever. I mean, certainly this first edition for $1.99, you're getting 3 Primaris, a couple of paints and a brush. It's insane value. I mean, so yeah, I think I'll be picking up the first edition. Whether or not I go on to buy any more after that, I don't know. But yes, certainly, I think it's just you'd be a fool not to buy that one for, you know, what is a bit of pocket change.
I think, well, definitely there's value for money on it. I think it's a bit crazy guys going out and buying 8 and 10 copies of it. You know what I mean? It's like, I can understand if you want to buy a couple of copies because it's good value, but in my mind, the whole idea of the first issue being cheaper is to get you to buy into the series. But not only that, it's like, it's more, I think it's more for the people who have been on the periphery or have heard about 40k. So I think people buying up 8 and 10 copies, and then I just don't want to see a situation myself where it's like some youth, you know, one of the little ones has heard about it, wants to go and buy it, and finds that there's no copies left down in his local newsagents because, you know, one of these Bad Moon gets bought like the last 10 copies, you know what I mean?
Yeah, or filthy Blood Axe has gone in and stolen them all. But yeah, it's the age we live in, and you see it with everything now. I mean, you see it with, you know, in the same way when a new console or something's released and it's the must-have item, or, you know, anything, they sell out because people buy them up and then sell them on at inflated prices on eBay and stuff. It is a shame. And also, I mean, these Primaris in here are the snap fit ones, aren't they? So the people that are doing this are going to end up with a lot of miniatures exactly the same.
I'm sure. Like I can understand the value in it. I can and personally I can understand some maybe they need some Primaris Marines and even like the paint pots because I think it's like what it's about £3 or something like that. So it's
yeah, they're not cheap, that's for sure. So I mean, yeah, essentially, if you were, I think even if you were just getting one paint pot, you're already making a saving. I mean, what's the magazine itself like? I mean, is there any good reading in there? Does it have any value above just the freebies that you get with it?
I've no idea for the actual magazine itself, but I'll do a shout out to Big Mac Dan School. He did a few videos in regards to value. So I'll have to throw him in the link or somewhere.
Oh
somewhere.
God, yeah, a filthy Death Skull player. There we go.
Ah,
There's another Orc Clan there. God, if you want to talk about thieving.
Oh, don't get me
Jeez.
started. They paint it blue and they think it belongs to them. I'm telling you, the cheek. But yeah, he did a few videos where he was.
Yeah, there's no blue paint coming near my bad moons. Thank you very much.
No, none of that. None of that. That won't be happening. But like I was saying, he was he did a couple of videos about the value. So even if you do the subscription, it'll save you money from buying the miniatures apparently, and that's not even taking into account the paints themselves. So I personally have subscribed to it. I went for a premium subscription, so there's a few other extra bits and pieces. You'll end up with like gaming mats and other bits and bobs. But I'm more interested in it because I want to start up a video series. So it'll be like you get your first issue, we'll sit down, we'll paint the first issue, and yada yada. Like Warhammer are doing it themselves, but I don't know. I just thought it'd be an interesting project. You know what I mean? I don't have any Primaris Marines or Nurgle stuff, so it'll all be new to me anyway. And some extra paints.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I look forward to seeing it. It'd be an interesting series, and I mean, it's you get lots of scenery and stuff in there as well. I've seen the pictures where it shows like what you'll end up with at the end of the run, and it's a lot of stuff, man. It's 2 large armies and a lot of scenery and a lot of paints, and yeah, it's going to be a great cheap way, an affordable, easy way to sort of build up quite an impressive collection of stuff by the end of it.
Yeah, it definitely does because they showed up an image of all the miniatures and terrain that you'll get in the series. It does look impressive, and a little part of me wanted to. I don't know. Maybe it's a fear of loss from when I was younger. Because when I was younger and in school, back in the day when I had long flowing locks of hair, back in the nostalgia years, there was the Lord of the Rings magazine series, and that was highly successful. You know what I mean? And a lot of my mates had got it. But my mum was having none of it. She's like, "No, you're not getting it. You're in skill. You have your tests and stuff. Not happening." You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think we've all got similar stories like that. Definitely. Yeah, I remember that series actually. I remember. Yeah.
And that was really good value for money. One of my mates had it.
I think I actually got the first issue of that one. Actually, I think it came with a couple of Urukai orcs in there. I think, if I remember correctly.
I remember, yeah, because my friend had it. So yeah. There's always those nostalgia stories where you couldn't get something yourself, but one of your mates had it. The sort of, you know what I mean? And
yeah, we all had that. We all had that rich mate who nobody liked and got all the good stuff, didn't we? Eh? I remember actually talking while we're on the subject, actually talking about a rich wealthy friend. Going back to these, I remember going around a friend's house and he had some money and. My old man, he was restricted the money I could spend. So I wanted to play, 40k and stuff from a very young age. And I had a few little models and bits, but never really, enough to get started properly. I was always left wanting more. And I remember going around to my friend's house and we went up to his loft, which was like a big gaming room. And we went up there looking for one of his toys or something completely else, and walked up there and I was met with this massive gaming table full of scenery, and there was something like a big dwarf army one end and a big orc and goblin army the other end, and I was just wow, like, why didn't you tell me you had this? And I said, can we play? And his mum was like, no, you're not playing, you're not allowed to touch it. And I was like, oh God. And it was the biggest tease going, but
Was it
Yeah,
his?
I remember, like you say, I wasn't allowed to spend a lot of money on that kind of stuff. My meager pocket money would occasionally buy me the odd cheap item here and there, but
But it's always the way when you're younger. You have all the time and none of the money. And then when you're a bit older, you might have some of the money, but you have none of the time.
oh, tell me about it. Tell me about it. I still haven't finished my killer cans yet. I mean, they're so close to being finished, and I keep seeing them on the kitchen side, and got to finish these off, and then I get started on my kill team. But it's time. It's time. You know, working full time, family, and running a moderately successful YouTube channel. It takes a lot of time and energy, but yeah, I'm gonna have to, you know, focus and force myself to get some painting done soon because yeah, time is a valuable commodity.
I agree with you there. That I started painting a mob of 30 orc boys, and oh, I needed to, I got my color scheme down, and I was happy enough with it. But the motivation to paint just got killed off. Like to anyone out there who has a fully painted horde army, you deserve a medal. You really do. It's
Oh, totally, totally.
it's an art in and of itself. Just keeping yourself motivated and disciplined to get it done, and then don't do what I did. Don't give yourself an over intricate paint job. I was like, oh, blood axe is like camo. I know what I'll do. I'll use alternating camouflage in the unit. Oh my god.
Yeah, and that's one of my big regrets is selling my Necron army years ago. I had 3,000 points plus fully painted up Necron army, and I went to town on some of them models like the Deceiver and the Monolith and stuff. I really went to town, and but the general army itself was very quick and easy to paint. It was a lot of dry brushing metal and a bit of an ink wash and painting on a few details and done. And even that took a fair while. But what I'm learning with the orcs is I have to sort of lower my standards a bit because I'm just aiming for a good tabletop standard. Because if I try and paint to, I'm not the best painter in the world, far, far from it. But I do consider myself a fairly good painter. But I can very quickly fall into the trap of painting one miniature at a time and really treating it as a work of art on its own and just getting nowhere. I need to sort of just stick to some simple techniques, and it's what I plan to do with my orc army is just get these sort of techniques and the scheme down, and then just production line them and get them done fairly quickly, and deliberately sort of leave some details out, leave some bits out that I don't need to do. Otherwise, I'm just never going to get it done.
I fell into the same trap myself. It was a case of over detailing and over intricate and like these are just orc boys, so these get taken off by the handful. It's like they look amazing,
Yeah.
but I'll finish them when I'm
Oh, they
about
do,
70.
mate. They do.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
for anyone watching this video now, get on. I know if you're a subscriber to me and not to Skarnir yet, subscribe to Skarnir. Go and check out some of his painting videos and live videos he's done, and the stuff showing off his boys because they are coming along really nicely, man. They're looking really good. The Orc Skin in particular, I really like. It looks very effective.
I got that off of another YouTuber. It's really I have to I whatever video I talk about my Orc Skin, I specifically remember the channel there. I know I have a head like a sieve at the moment, and I apologize to whoever you are. Um, I did not come up with the
maybe
the
if you
skill.
remember, maybe if you remember, you can put a link in the description.
Yes, we'll throw a link in the description if and when I remember. But yeah, like just trying to. That's I think it's just base colors. I need to get into the same mentality myself. I think we're in the same predicament. It's like you need to get paint coverage on your army, um, and in and of itself is a vast improvement visually. And then at a later date, come back and do more in-depth and detailed painting at your own leisure. So I think I need to be doing that myself, where it's just get base colors down, so that at least they're blocked out and blocked off, and you can tell. Because if we think about it, most of the time you're going to be seeing an orc from 3 to 4 foot away, because you're at least going to have.
No one looks at your miniatures. No one looks at your miniatures as close as you do. I mean, when it's your own critical eye. You're your own biggest critic, and you will know where the mistakes are and where you've gone over a little bit or you've fudged something a little bit. But no one else is very rarely ever going to notice these things. You know, they're just going to see your army on the tabletop as a cohesive whole, and it will look incredibly effective with a very basic, you know, techniques and color scheme. And I think that's definitely the best way to do an orc army. I mean, don't do them shit. I mean, you know, take some pride in your work. Don't just do the old thing that we've talked about before, is, you know, so the orcs, it doesn't matter, just throw paint at them from the other side of the room. But you do want them to look clean and well done, but you don't need to go overboard, because generally sort of just fairly well painted models,
Yeah, because
all tied in nicely with a good color scheme, will look really good and really pop on the battlefield. Much better than like one or two amazingly painted models and then the rest of them all grey. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, yeah, there's that was the series I started, and I just haven't done anything because I ran out of motivation. Was fighting the grey tide. I need to get back on that hobby horse and knock some more orcs out. But I don't know about you, but personally, I'm finding like there's sort of a mental block. Like, I don't want to find that I've painted 120 orcs and then the codex comes out and then it's like, well, actually, that's not the style I want to play. You know what I mean? They're not the tactics I want to play.
Yeah.
Once the codex comes out, it's like,
Oh,
well, actually,
definitely,
what I want to do is paint like 60 storm boys. You know what I mean? So there's a little bit of that. I'm just making
you lovingly paint something up and then you find out that, you know, it's been nerfed massively in the rules, and you're like, great, that's never going to see action on the tabletop for a long time. Yeah.
It all just depends. Like, I definitely will be. There'll be commanders in my army anyway. Commandos. It's just a team I like, but ex-commando. Interesting. So I think we'll probably leave it at that for now. Just get people to.
Yeah, I think so. I think this has been quite a long show this time, actually. But
it's about, we're just over the hour mark.
I know. In the last video we said we were going to do sort of a bit of a Q&A. We're going to hold off on that. We've got a few questions from a lot of the subscribers and stuff, but we'd like to get a few more to do like a Q&A episode of this. So keep your questions coming in, guys, that you'd like to put to us. And I'm sure a few of those questions and answers from us will spark off a few debates and arguments, much like the Bad Moon versus Blood Axe argument. It should be entertaining. But yeah, keep your questions coming, guys, because at some point in the very near future, we do plan on doing a Q&A episode and answering all your questions.
Yeah, a dedicated Q&A session. So don't forget to vote on the best clan, Blood Axes. Leave your comments. Throw a like. If you haven't subscribed to myself and Stevo, hit them all subscribe buttons and ring those bells, you know. And we'll see you at the next episode. So that's Skarnir signing out.
And 6+ Stevo signing out.